call to order today's February 1st, 2023 Fishers Plan Commission. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Kay, can we have roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Stewart.
Here.
Mr. Zimmerman. Mr. Fain.
Here.
Ms. Logan. Mr. Peterson.
Here.
Mr. Moulter. Ms. Stoller.
Here.
Mr. Richards.
Here.
Ms. Lang.
Here.
And Mr. Stevenson.
Here.
Thank you.
We do have a quorum to conduct business tonight. The first agenda item is election of officers, appointments, and designations. First item is election of president. I would entertain a motion at this time.
Nominate Howard.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Any
Roll
further
call.
nominations?
Any further comments
Or nominations?
or nominations? If not, Kay, roll call, please.
Mr.
Yep.
Stewart.
Try to help where I can. Howard.
Mr. Fain.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Ms. Stoller.
Aye.
Mr. Richards.
Aye.
Ms. Lang.
Aye.
And Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. The motion does carry. Thank you, colleagues. The next item is election of vice president. I would entertain a motion at this time.
I nominate Pete Peterson. I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other nominations? If not, roll call, please, Kay.
Mr. Stewart.
Aye.
Mr. Fain.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Ms. Stoller.
Aye.
Mr. Richards.
Aye.
Ms. Lang.
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson.
Yes, the motion carries. Thanks, Pete. The next items we have are appointments and designations. I'll ask Kay to share that with us.
Appointment of secretaries. Megan Vukovic, Ross Hillary, Jonah Butler, Bree King, Sydney Granlund, and Tyler Folk. Appointment of recording secretary. Kay Prang, Kelly Lewerk. Appointment of a member of the Plan Commission to the BZA, Howard Stevenson. Appointment of the member of the Plan Commission to the FCBZA, Steve Richards. Appointment of the member of the Plan Commission to the PUD, Pete Peterson. Appointment of all the members to the Plat Committee, Megan Vukovic, Jason Taylor, Selena Stoller. Designation of the Plan Commission Legal Counsel, Krieg DeVault. And designation of the legal publications, the Noblesville Times and the Current, and designation of commissions, the Noblesville Times and the Current.
Thanks, Kay. Any comments?
So moved.
We have a motion by Pete.
Second.
We have a second by Selena. Roll call, Kay.
Mr. Stewart.
Aye.
Mr. Fain.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Ms. Stoller.
Aye.
Mr. Richards.
Aye.
Ms. Lang.
Aye.
And Mr. Stevenson.
Aye. The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item we have for public hearing is TA-23-1, Fishers 2040 Housing Update. It's a consideration of a text amendment to the Fishers 2040 Comprehensive Plan, Housing and Neighborhoods Chapter to include recommendations from the 2022 Housing Study and Task Force.
Oh, yeah. I think we need approval of previous minutes first.
Oh, I do apologize. Yes, thank you. Megan, we'll have you hold off for that.
I'll make a motion to approve the previous minutes.
I second.
We have a motion and a second, and those are the previous minutes for January 4th, 2023. Any comments? All those in favor, use the voting sign aye.
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 Those opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. Thank you. And now we have Megan Vukovic to present for the City of Fishers.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. So the item before you is for an update to the Fishers 2040 Comprehensive Plan. This was first adopted in 2016, And in 2021, we conducted the first 5-year update to this plan. So it's a legally required document from the state of Indiana, and then we are required to update it every 5 years. So during that first 5-year update in 2021, a housing subcommittee was convened, and they were charged with looking at the Housing and Neighborhoods chapter of the Fishers 2040 plan. During that time, it was determined that a housing study was needed to better understand the current housing market and anticipated demands. In that same year, the city formed a housing task force made up of various community stakeholders and hired urban partners to complete a housing needs analysis and strategy. So this housing study was completed in January 2022. I think most of you are familiar with that. And in that study, there were recommendations that were made to be incorporated into our Fishers 2040 plan. So at this time, we are bringing forward an amendment to the Housing and Neighborhoods chapter to incorporate those recommendations. And so we have provided a draft ordinance, which I have shown here on the screen. I know the text is going to be too small for you all to read, but that was included on the agenda. And any of the additional action items are identified in red. Some of these are incorporated into existing action items because they really were extensions of the actions that were already there, and incorporate the intent of what Urban Partners has recommended. And so with that, staff does recommend a favorable recommendation to City Council. If this does get a favorable recommendation or a motion tonight, it will go to City Council for the February meeting for final approval.
Thanks, Megan. Any comments from board members? Yes.
Thanks, Megan. I had a couple of questions about the rental stock section. And if you could tell me a little bit more about converting single-family rental houses back to home ownership. What do you see happening with the incentives, and what do you think where are the incentives going to? Are they going to the homeowner? Are they going to the person that's buying it? Kind of talk me through that a little bit.
Yeah, so these action items are at a very high level, and that's why they're in the Fishers 2040 plan.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have the details of what that plan looks like at this time. To the action item that you're referring to is the incentive to deconvert the single-family rentals into home ownership.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that our legal department is working on with the mayor to bring forward a policy, but I don't have the details of that at this time. We're just incorporating this action item into the Fishers 2040 plan as a high-level objective.
Well, I think it's great. And clearly one of the problems in Fishers is the cost of housing is getting out of hand. And so I welcome this study and I welcome these additions. I would like to suggest maybe a tweak to this section so that so if we're going to do it at a high level to incentivize converting the house, can we then maybe incentivize the purchase of the house? Right, and what I'm thinking is, for a lot of residents of Fishers, particularly public safety officers, teachers, veterans, people like that, they have trouble buying a house in Fishers because it costs too much to live here. And so with this project, I'm wondering if we could evaluate the feasibility of not only deconverting these single-family rentals into home ownership, but to also setting up a program where we could incentivize the purchase of that house by public safety officers, teachers, and veterans.
I think that if that's a recommendation that a majority of board members were willing to entertain, we could add that in. I don't know if the policy that our staff has looked at really focuses on what you're talking about, targeting specific professions.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm really targeting that house, right? We're trying to convert those back to single family, and one way to do that is to what this policy is to fix the house up and get it ready for sale. Another way to accelerate that is to incentivize the actual purchase, whether that's with a matching grant, right? However that may be, but I think it's worth a look.
Yeah, well, I know within the recommendation there was some examples of what that could look like, so we could add in that as an example of something to take a look at.
Well, I'll be happy to make that in the form of a motion.
Yeah, we'll wait until we get to the public hearing. But Bill, I would say I support you in terms of evaluating that as a feasibility study. As you said earlier, I learned this in my experience when I was on the school board, that a lot of our teachers may not live in the school district because they may not be able to afford to live here. So if there's anything that we can look to evaluate that to incentivize not just teachers but public safety and others, veterans for example as well. But yeah, I would echo the sentiments that Bill has regarding that. Any other thoughts, comments for staff?
I do know that we're looking at it from a legal basis too, Bill,
Certainly.
that what has to be done. I certainly understand the intent of what you're doing for sure, and I have no issues with the intent of what you're doing, but obviously it needs to be run through legal for sure.
Absolutely.
I know Chris, when he was looking at it, there was some hurdles with the policies that we were trying to come up with, that he was trying to figure a way around, if you will, or a legal mechanism to do what we wanted to do. So I know it's a fairly complex issue, for sure.
Certainly.
And we've got a lot of people down at the State House which, are gonna work against that, quite frankly, on the lobby effort. Because that's what they do. But I think we'll get there. But I have no issue with your recommendation. So.
Thank you.
I want to add one thing, and I don't disagree with anybody. I think it's great if we can implement that. It's going to be against the pressure of what's happening nationally. And we're moving to more of a renter nation. And I think the 60-40 home ownership in the country is probably going to be more like 40-60. I spend a lot of time in some pretty high-level groups. And with the amount of institutional buyers and folks, they're not going to stop. Single-family homes are now an asset class, like it is an investment asset class.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not going to slow down. So the pressure is going to be that there's going to be more renters anyway. So I think it's great if we can do it. I think it's going to be even tougher than looking backwards. Looking forward, it's even going to be harder to stop. I think there's an interesting play to try to charge more money to the investors to take that money and put it into HOAs, or maybe every time we sell one to a renter, they have to spend more, or a rental company that they spend more that might go into a grant to give to other homeowners. But irregardless, like I know that's not the purview of this, is to have the exact. I do know, I just wanted to add this, at 10th and Rural, I don't know what it wound up being called, but it was called Teachers Row at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You familiar with that?
Mm-hmm.
But they did something similar where they had incentives, and I think it was through the mortgage program. They had certain, different mortgage programs where they incentivized for instructors that were at local colleges, and so that might be a precedent just to add to the notes here, that if somebody's looking into that later. I know they pulled that off down there and got around whatever forces were trying to stop them, but.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve.
Yep.
If there's no other comments, we'll open the public hearing at this time. If there's anyone who wants to address the commission on this matter, you're welcome to approach the podium. Please share your name and your address and the items that you want to address regarding this matter.
Hi, good evening, Jocelyn Bear, 12315 Windsor East Drive. I'm an at-large member of the Fisher City Council. The housing concern in our community is, I just wanted to share with you, one of the number one concerns that I hear from folks in the area, and it is one of the primary concerns, and I just applaud this step to really codify the priority of housing and addressing this issue in our community by getting it in the 2040 plan. The only further comment I would mention is, I think we've already discussed here already tonight, it is a broad issue that's going to require, I think, a tapestry of different solutions and opportunities to try. I will mention, though, when actually Councilor Stoller and I were a member of the 2040 Housing Chapter Committee, and one of the things we talked about, which is not part of the proposal you have in front of you, is a good communication plan to our community to help folks understand that the opportunities available to them when they're selling their house, when they're encouraging other folks to join our community, really combating any type of NIMBYism, which is really just presenting the facts to our community. We thought as a committee that that was an important step, so I wanted to share that with you. In addition, and along those lines, my last point is this. The housing study that was completed last January says that non-owner occupant sales were 9.4% of all sales in the past 5 years. I want to just focus on that because, as I said, the solutions are going to be a tapestry of different opportunities that we're going to try. Non-owner occupant sales are just one piece of that. And I just wanted to point out, as we talk about facts, that's only 9.4% right now. We know it's growing, but that's what the facts show us in this housing study. So thanks for the opportunity to share with you that, and I applaud Megan, your efforts here and everyone to address this important issue in our community. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Vera. Any other comments by board members? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to make a favorable recommendation to City Council, including Bill Stewart's add-on for a study on, how do I phrase this, into our first responders and teachers and veterans.
Evaluate an incentive for public safety personnel, school teachers, and veterans to purchase single-family rental properties as part of this conversion process.
Well said, Bill. I'll make that a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further comments? If not, we would have roll call. Kay, please.
Mr. Stewart?
Aye.
Mr. Fain?
Aye.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Ms. Stoller?
Aye.
Mr. Richards?
Aye.
Ms. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson?
Yes. The motion carries. Thank you. I don't see any old business. Staff communications, Megan?
Yeah, so a summary of council action from last month. They did approve the new development out on 136 and Cynthia Ann Road, 61 single-family homes, and the area to the south will be dedicated to the city at no cost. So I would say that is a huge win for the city and for the residents in that area. So looking forward to that coming online. But that is the only update that I've got for you.
Okay, thank you. Well, before we adjourn, I wanted to just share a few comments about Don Lang. I believe this is your last meeting. On behalf of my colleagues, and if others want to share a few comments as well, feel free. I want to thank you for your time that you have served on the Plan Commission. It's been an honor to serve with you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your service to the Fishers community. I think you've lived here, 28 years?
Yes, I have.
So,
Yes.
thank you for your service to our community, not just for the
Thank you.
Plan Commissions, but for other things that you've done in our community as well.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay. And if there's no other comments, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned.